but you have to be willing to be like, I want to get high. Instead, I'm going to do this. And you have to rewire that behavior because the behavior is so hardwired on some of these people. I'm going to go drink. They can't even, there's not even a pause between I want to drink and the drink.
Right.
They just go do it. It's just instantaneous.
Right.
So you have to interrupt that. And it's not easy to interrupt that.
That's right.
But breath work will interrupt that if you're willing to lay down and just do it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Game Changer Podcast. My name is Michelle Dutro. I'm your host, and we are chatting today with Jon Paul Crimi. It's a little Italian thing. You're going to think we're talking about Italian cooking. We're talking about breath work, but that is the right enunciation there. Anyway, everybody, Breathwork Day today. Now, if you follow me at all, you know that I am a big proponent of breathwork, obviously because my background is I have been a stress reduction therapist for more than 25 years. And the fastest way to ever reduce that level of stress in real time is you gotta control the breath. So before we get started here, Jon Paul's already getting going. Let's just do a little bit of a background. Normally I read I'm just going to talk to you here.
Let's do it.
Jon Paul had a bit of an addiction thing, right? So here's what I love. The people that are the very best at what they do is because they walk their talk, they've been there. So if they are helping you work through your stuff, they had to work through their own stuff. They didn't just read a book on it, take a class on a matchbook cover, truly been in the trenches and got themselves out by this tool that he is now teaching. So he has been there. Not only has he been, which we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on of what happened and how he walked out of it, but he didn't just walk out of it. Let's just say this about that. He has worked with some of the big name people that you all have heard of that he has impacted their lives. And these are folks that, we've all heard the stories, right? May not be the easiest to work with or think they have all the answers and yet are coming to him saying, I could use some help. So you know what? It's for all of us. It doesn't matter if you are on your last dime, you're a mega millionaire, you have a few problems, or you have more problems than you think anyone's had in their life. This works for everybody. So we are going to do a deep dive here into Jon Paul and his background and understand I just recently, a few days ago, took his class. So we are going to get to chat firsthand about just all things breathwork and then my personal experience and who I think this is for as well. He's going to share that with us too. And listen, if you are a newcomer or you are experienced or you are anywhere in between, there are things you're going to get out of this conversation. So sit tight wherever you're doing. You're at the gym, you're on a hike, you're in the kitchen doing dishes. Tune it up just a little bit. This conversation has the ability to change your life for the better. I don't say that about every topic and about every guest, but I am on this one. So, Jon Paul, let's start here from the beginning. I mentioned, my dear, that you kind of had some dark times.
Sure.
So I'm curious. I'm always curious about how people find their path out and what it took for them to even say enough is enough. There are people that spend decades or right now maybe you're listening and they're having some struggles and are saying, hey, I could use a word of encouragement. What did you go through and how did this thing called breathwork help? And what did you try along the way that didn't, right? Because most people don't land on the answer first time out. They go through some things going, yeah, that didn't work either. And maybe I'm the problem. And so I'm curious as to your story that, we all learn from other people's things. I know that you're happy to share about that. So please tell us about your beginning.
Well, so, it took a lot. It takes a lot for just about anyone, I think, to hit a bottom, where they're like, I need help. Like, I'm a real strong motivator, self-starter. I can get this done. I can do anything. I'm a badass. Watch me do this. And I could not get sober on my own. I tried to get sober. I tried to quit drinking and I really couldn't do it. And it's such a painful thing to admit, that like, I cannot stop doing this thing. So I'm going to go take advice from strangers on how to fix this, how to fix my life, right? Like, and that goes against like my manhood, like I'm a man, I can figure this out. I'm going to do this, but like, I can't stop drinking. And it really, for me, it took a health problem. I have alopecia, which is an autoimmune disorder. So my autoimmune system went haywire on me and started attacking my hair follicles and killing my hair off. And it happened in patches. And it started happening around 25 years old, 24, 25. Started getting bald patches. My eyebrows started to get patchy. And I was an actor and a fitness model at the time. So my
Right.
self-esteem and my self-worth, sadly to say, was wrapped up in my looks, right? And if
Right.
your self-worth is your looks and it's stripped away, or your self-esteem and self-worth is your family and your marriage breaks down, or your career and you lose your career, then what?
Yeah, that's your
Right?
identity.
Yeah, that's your identity. And so my identity was ripped away at a pretty young age and the peak of my narcissism. So the doctors actually put me on prednisone, right? Which
Yeah.
is a catabolic steroid,
Yep.
makes you bloated and kind of fat. And I was working at Gold's Gym in Venice, the mecca of bodybuilding. So everyone around me is taking anabolic steroids to get muscle, and I'm taking fat steroids. And so it's like the worst.
Yep.
And they're giving me cortisone shots in my eyebrows and in my
Oh,
head. I'd get like 150 shots in one session, which was really painful. So I started to take Vicodin before I go get the shots. And then I just started to
wow.
eat the Vicodin every day because Vicodin is an emotional pain blocker, right? I don't want to feel the feelings. I don't have any tools to deal with the feelings that I'm feeling around what's happening to me. And I'm suicidal at the time, sadly to say, because it's an outside thing. It's just an external thing. It's just my hair. I don't have cancer. I'm not dying, right? So, but I would take these Vicodin all day long at work in the Gold's Gym and train clients. And then I would go home and drink until I passed out. And I went to see a therapist, and I thought she prescribed me some Prozac. And what she actually suggested was a 12-step recovery. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think that's for me. And then I tried to get sober on my own. Like I'd go a couple weeks and I'd not drink, and then I'd go on a bender or something would happen and I'd crack and I'd drink. And this went on for like a year of really trying to do this on my own. And that really kind of made me see my powerlessness over alcohol and drugs. It really did. It showed me the powerlessness that they talk about in recovery. And I went on a bender, and I was jumping the canal bridges in Venice with the cops in tow, like the Dukes of Hazzard. And I
Wow.
somehow talked my way out of getting arrested. And the next morning I woke up and there was an empty packet of drugs on the table, and the window was broken, and my roommate's phone was missing. And I was just a mess. And my roommate was
Yeah.
like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, she was a stripper slash dancer. And I was like, "I don't know. I'm a mess." And
I'm
she's like,
getting judged from you. Oh,
I
no.
go, I go,
Oh,
I
no.
go, I go, "What do I do?" And she's
Oh,
like, go to AA, go to 12-step recovery."
yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay." And my therapist had suggested it months before, but my stripper roommate carried much more weight than my therapist at that time in my life.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
you know, so I walked in to, some men's recovery meetings, and I raised my hand and I asked for help. And that's a pivotal moment in my journey.
I think it is, don't you, for everybody?
Yeah.
That moment and what it takes.
Yeah.
And that's different for everyone.
Yeah. And, we'll talk about this, I'm sure. I've worked with some of the most successful people on the planet, helping them in recovery. I was a sober companion for 17 years. So I helped every huge name actor and a bunch of people you don't even know about, and all the people you do know about. And those people, they don't hit the bottoms that other people hit. They don't hit the
Right.
bottom where they don't have any money, or their wife
Right.
kicks them out, or they
Right.
lose a job, or they don't have anywhere to stay. They don't hit those
No,
bottoms.
or they're
Everyone
on their
still
own
wants
and
to
isolated. They have handlers. There's people
Yeah,
all the
everyone
time.
still wants to party with them and do drugs with them. They can still hook up with the opposite sex. They don't hit those bottoms. So
Yeah.
how do they get sober? They have to hit that internal bottom,
Yeah.
that internal conflict, I call it, where you're like, you just look in the mirror and you're like, I can't stand what I see
Yeah.
anymore. I don't want to live like
I'm
this
done with
anymore.
you.
I don't want to feel like this anymore.
Yeah.
So it has to be an internal bottom that they have to hit. The rest of us, everyone else can be like, dude, it's obvious you're a mess. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
go to rehab, get your shit together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a pivotal moment, and it was a pivotal moment for me. And I asked for help, and I got the help I needed. And thankfully, gratefully, I was so beat up enough that I was just like, I'll do whatever you tell me. Like, I didn't want to, there was no more fight left in me. Like, maybe I don't have a problem. Maybe
Right.
I should try. There's a lot of people that come in and they go in and out for a while. I didn't
Right.
have that. I'm like, just tell me what to do
Right.
and I will do it.
Right.
And I did all this shit that I thought was ridiculous, that wasn't going to work, that changed my life.
Yep. See, that's the one that I love, and, I have been kind of in the fringes of wellness for a couple of decades where people look at you because it's not mainstream, it's not a drug or a medication, it's something out in the fringes, and someone saying, "Well, why would biofeedback work? Why would breathwork work? Why would the"
Yeah.
Well, you know what? As soon as you're done, defending your need to be right about why you're a mess, and you say,
Mhm.
"You know what? I'm done defending that. Okay,
Yeah.
you know what? The shield and the armor are down. What do you got?" And I do
Yeah.
think that people need to get to that point where you're not, butting heads with things that can actually work. So for you, that was breath work.
Well, so let me touch on what you just said first. So the first thing I want to say is that you were touching on people talking about people taking medication, I think, right? And so it's just like you briefly said it in there. It's like,
Yep,
yeah, people would rather just take a pill from their doctor and
correct.
bleed out of their ass,
Yes.
have rectal
Yep.
bleeding, than lay down on the floor and do breath work or do some biofeedback. They
Uh,
would rather just do that. Like that's an easier solution.
I'm in a,
Like,
I've
and I'll
never
say
said
like,
this.
try some breath work.
When I first started in biofeedback, I can remember seeing this gal. She was 17, 18. Actually, I think she was 18 because her mother brought her. So she was 17. And I said to her, "Your way of life, like if you think that cancer is not in your path by the decisions you're making," she looked me dead in the eye and said, "That's what chemotherapy's for." And I said, "So that's your plan. Like that's an active plan that you're going to keep going with your life. You're 17 years old doing these things that are going to have a very negative outcome and your thing is, I'm just going to do chemo." And she said, "Yeah, I don't need this. I'm here because my mom said to be." And so
Oh,
it's just, you know what? And I started 25 years ago hearing that and it's never
yeah.
ended.
Yeah.
There's a pill for that. Well, okay.
Yeah, well, here's the thing with medication. If you're going to kill yourself, if it's the choice between killing yourself and taking medication, please take the
Take
medication,
medication. I'm with you.
right? But
Absolutely.
I think we're over
I'm with you.
medicated, especially in
Right.
America. 70% of people are on one prescription, 50% are on two. And here's my take on medication: it doesn't put out the fire; it just turns off the alarm.
Right.
The fire is still burning the house down.
Right.
Right? It's just you just turned off the smoke alarm. It's still on the house is still on fire.
Right.
So, it's up to you if you wanna do something about it, and if you don't wanna do something about it, I can't help you.
Right.
I can't I'd love to help you. If you're here, if you're willing to do some work, if you can have an open mind, if you can try something different, I'm here for it. Let's do it. I'm
Right.
in your corner. If you're not, then go do what you wanna do.
Right.
Like,
I
I don't
say
have
the
to
same thing.
convince
I
you you're
can't
an
want it enough for
alcoholic.
you. I can't want it enough for you. If
I
that's
don't
not
have to
what you want.
convince you that you're an alcoholic. Alcohol is the convincer.
Yeah.
Alcohol will do that job for me,
Yeah.
right? So I want to touch back to what you said on breathwork. It's like I didn't get sober and then find breathwork. I didn't find it till 12 years into sobriety. I'm sober 26 years now.
Got
I
it.
wish I found it when I was newly sober, and they're putting it in all the rehabs now and all the sober livings. And I'm
Yes.
like, yeah, because it's a tool that works
Yes.
incredibly well,
Yes.
especially for people in recovery, because people in recovery have lots of trauma.
Yeah.
And you can be flipping out. I've seen this before firsthand. Someone's flipping out and they're like, I'm going to go use drugs. I'm going to drink. And I'm like, okay, I'll get you high right now. And they're like, what? I'm like, lay down on the floor. I'm going to get you high with some breath work. I'm like, shut up. I'm like, listen, let's do this breath work. And if you want to go get drugs afterwards, I'll go get you some drugs. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. I wasn't going to get him drugs, but they lay down on the floor. They do the breath work. They have this incredible experience. And then they sit up and they're like, oh, that was totally different than what I thought it was. I'm like, wait, you're English? Like you're a totally different person. Like I didn't even know, you know what I mean? Like I'm meeting them for the first time because all I met was their psycho representative with all the trauma and all the stuff and all the things going on. And now they're calm, they're centered, they're in their heart, their heads turned off.
So the need for drugs is gone.
Yeah.
That's
So
why
it will get
the
rid of that
driver.
craving. It will get
Yes.
rid of that craving. So, but you have to be willing to be like, I want to get high. Instead, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And you have to
Yeah.
rewire that behavior because the
Yeah.
behavior is so hardwired on some of these people. I'm going to go drink. They can't even, there's not even a pause between I want to drink and the drink.
Right.
They just go do it. It's just
Right.
instantaneous.
Right.
So you have to interrupt that. And it's not easy to interrupt that.
That's right.
But breath work will interrupt that if you're willing to lay down and just do it. And so I found breath work, 15 years ago. It changed my life. It was the most incredible thing I've ever experienced, and then I went down a rabbit hole of, like, what else is out there? How did I not know that this even existed?
Yeah.
Why is this? And then I had a realization in one of my own first breathwork sessions, which was, oh, this is like done by new age woo woo people. And people don't want to do shit. People like me don't want to do shit with new age woo woo people.
Right.
They want to do it with people like them. And I had just met Tony Robbins. I had done Tony Robbins seminar, which was life changing. And I thought, if somebody did this like Tony Robbins, and then they added East Coast edginess and funniness, and they added the science in, and they played actually cool, good music, totally different from the classes I was taking, right? If they
Yes.
did that, and then maybe they added some moments afterwards of gratitude and love, so I leave in this beautiful place instead of like, holy shit, all this stuff I just had the biggest trauma release ever. They left in this beautiful place. Like that would be, they'd have hundreds of people in their classes, maybe thousands of people in their classes. Like I had this epiphany, and I was right. It took a couple of years to get there. And last year I got to do a class for Tony Robbins Life Mastery event, which was,
Ah,
a couple thousand people. It was a full circle moment for me. It was a beautiful full circle moment. And I got to do a class last year in Switzerland for 900 people, the largest in-person breathwork class ever, circular breathwork. I think we should preface this with, breathwork is an umbrella term. Right? It's
right.
like saying fitness. I do fitness, Michelle. You'd be
Right.
like, okay, John Paul, what
What does that
do you
mean?
do CrossFit, Soul Cycle? So I teach circular breath work, and there are a lot of different methods out there. There's Wim
Wim
Hof
Hof.
breath work, and there's
Right.
box breathing, and there's coherent breathing. There's all these great different methods. The specific kind that I teach is circular breath work, also called conscious connected breathing. And the reason I like this one is because it has such a massive impact in 1 hour. In a 1 hour class, I can have someone have a transformation. I can change someone's life. I can change the direction of somebody's life. Actually, I'm not doing it. You're doing it. The breathwork's doing it. I'm just the guide introducing it to people. And
Right.
I've watched it happen. It has massive impact. And there's a thing I say that I didn't come up with. I got it from people taking my classes, which is breathwork. This breathwork is like 20 years of therapy without saying a word. And I thought that that was going to piss therapists off. But ironically, therapists send more people to me than any
That's
other
right.
profession. They send so many people because they know if they've done this work, they know all that stuff's going to come up and they're going to need to go to their therapist and process it.
That's right. That's right. It does. It gets you out of your head. And when you're seeing a therapist, you're largely, again, we're defending our way of being.
Yeah.
And for that 45 minutes or hour, we never get past that. And then the next
Yeah.
session, we start all over again. And as soon as we get somewhere, hours up, off we go. So let's go back to your first session.
Mm.
So someone said, however it is, and I also want to address this because what you said is very, very important because I know there is a handful of people out there saying, wow, Michelle's podcast is always like longevity and science-based and technical and data-driven and what's going to make a difference in your life and longevity and health span and lifespan. And now we have dropped into the land of crystals and feng
Well,
shui and breath work.
first of all, let me just say, I don't have a crystal up my butt right now. I'm not a crystal. I'm not a crystal guy. I'm not it's Mercury in retrograde guy. Your life's a mess because you made it that way. Don't blame it on the moon cycles. Okay. I'm from South Boston. I'm from the South Shore of Boston, Massachusetts. I'm not that guy. So that's why I think this works for a lot of people who take classes with me because I'm just as surprised about this as anyone. Right? Like
Right.
that I'm teaching this.
It doesn't require that you have been a meditator for 10 years. You largely
No.
have a white linen wardrobe. It just doesn't
Guess what? You can AI
require
this
that.
now. You can AI breathwork, and AI will tell you there's science behind this. It's not,
Huge.
there's science in this, and we can talk about some of the science if you want. We can go down that rabbit hole, but it sounded like you want to find out how I got into this.
I want to know how you got into it when very clearly you're not chanting to the three moons above. How is it that someone said, "Hey, just go give this thing a shot." You were already sober, to your point,
Yeah.
right? Life is, I don't know, maybe you're still taking advice from a stripper. I'm not sure where you were at that point, but
No strippers at that point.
we're years in, and so you go, and I'm curious as to two things. One, how your first experience was, and then was that how far down the road till you said, "I think I can make this a difference and make a change in people's lives through this
So
avenue."
I have to back up. I had a brief encounter with Tony Robbins. So I was with Matthew Perry. We were at the Los Angeles Kings game, right? The Kings are about to win the Stanley Cup. We're in the VIP room under the Staples Center. Will Ferrell's in there, Vince Vaughn, Zac Efron. It's a
Should
little
we
tiny
should
room.
we just stop right now that you just said you're at a game with Matthew Perry? I'm fairly certain people just now hit stop and hit rewind, and now let's just not have them waste time on that. Let's just stop for a second.
Okay.
Did the bridge to that, you're a trainer in Venice Beach and Matthew Perry says, "How can I do more sit-ups?" Like, how do we get from Venice Beach, life's a train wreck, to you're hanging out with very high profile people in your life?
Well, so I was actually a celebrity trainer even when I was kind of like messed up.
Okay.
So I was, helping. I was a trainer. Well, no, let's back up. So I was training people at Gold's Gym and working for Gold's Gym, and then I got sober, and then I got a lot of celebrity clients. And then someone pulled me into the world of celebrity sober companion work, which
Got it.
is you go on the road with this person, you help
Yep.
this person on the movie set, you go on the road with a rock star to help them stay sober on the road.
Okay.
So I ended up working with tons of celebrities, and I would be their trainer and their sober companion a lot of the time, right?
Convenient.
And my cover would be a trainer, but I was actually a really good trainer, but I was also their sober companion. So
Yes.
this is
Okay.
my trainer, but I'm really keeping them sober
Right.
too behind the scenes,
Right.
right? So that's what I did
Got
for
it.
a long time, and I've worked with a lot of people, a lot of very famous people, like ridiculously famous people. And so Matthew and I became really fast friends early on, probably 20 years ago, and we made each other laugh, and we became very close. And I miss him very much.
Yeah. I would imagine.
Yeah. And so sometimes I get, like grief. I've been saying this a lot. Like grief is love with no place to go.
Yeah.
And I have this
Yeah.
beautiful life. And some of it is really due in part to him. Like he had such an impact on my life. And I think I had an impact on his. And I wish I could have helped him get sober, stay sober, right? He would have periods of sobriety that were amazing. And during those periods, we would do amazing things like watch the Los Angeles Kings. It just so happened that it was 2012 and we were going to the hockey games. We're both hockey fans. And, it's Matthew Perry. So when you're Matthew Perry, you get to hang out with the Kings players after the game. So I got to know the Kings players. And this is the year they went on the run for the Stanley Cup. We were flying around to the playoff games and they'd win the playoffs. And we were like hanging out with them after the game. It was so fun. It was so crazy. And so this is going on all year. And now it's game 6. It's the final game. They're about to win the cup in this game. They're up 4-3. It's between periods. We're in the Staples Center. Under the Staples Center is a little room and it's packed with celebrities. And it's Vince Vaughn and Will Ferrell and Zac Efron and all these celebrities in a tiny little room. And in walks Tony Robbins. And I turn to Matthew and I go, holy shit, it's Tony Robbins. And he goes, really? The Kings are about to win the cup. We've been following them all season. Every celebrity in LA is in here. And you're excited about the gigantic man right now. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I had his tapes, his cassette tapes in high school. That's how old I am.
Personal power.
And I read his books, Personal Power. I read everything, right? He goes, well, go tell him you love him. I go, I'm not going to be the guy that bugs him like people bug you, right? So I'm walking back through the tunnel and Tony's on his phone and he looks up from his phone. He goes, hey man, how's it going? And I go, I never say this. I know everybody says that, but I'm a huge fan and I never come up to people. He goes, what's your name? What do you do? And Tony's just amazing. He knows what you need. Like he can look at you and just knows. So he goes, have you ever been to my seminar? And I go, no. He goes, I only do 3 domestically a year, but I'd love it if you'd come as my VIP guest next month in San Jose. And I go, cut the shit. He goes, no, here's my assistant's information. Took care of everything, right? So I go to the Tony Robbins seminar. I have this life-changing experience. I go full out and I decide in a moment in that seminar that I am done with my Hollywood dreams. I am done chasing, I had switched from an actor to a screenwriter. I got really close with a lot of screenplays. I was in development with Imagine, Ron Howard and Brian Grazier's company on a script.
Wow.
I was in development with the guys who did Transformers on another script at Paramount. I was in the works and I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just going to help people. And I don't know what that looks like, but I know that my life will have been worthwhile. So I just decided to let go. And I also in that seminar decided I was going to have kids, which I never wanted to do. And so when I came back, I had to convince my wife that I wanted to have kids. And she's like, what the hell happened to Tony Robbins? So, so anyways, I get back from Tony Robbins. I'm like elevated. I'm on another plane. I'm totally open-minded. I'm doing affirmations. I'm doing all of Tony's work. It's like, and then Matthew, this girl takes Matthew to a healer and he tells me about it. And I'm like, dude, this sounds ridiculous. He's telling me about this healing session. And I'm like, I think he was asphyxiating you, bro. And he's like, no, no, no. I'm telling you, it was this and that happened and whatever. And we're doing this weird breathing technique. And it's not the technique that I teach. It's a different technique. But I said, bullshit. And so he said, well, you're my only friend that would try it. So I bought you a session with the guy. I'm like, you bought me a session? Really? That's generous. He goes, yeah, because I want you to try it so we can talk about it. So I
Mhm.
went and did the session with this guy. And it was a really profound experience. It was
Yeah.
woo woo and new agey on a level and weird, but it was
But it had an
profound.
impact. Yeah.
It had a massive impact.
Yeah.
And the next day, I was like different. And my wife's like, you seem completely different. So I started working with this guy. And then
Okay, so
other
let's
people,
stop here because there's a
okay.
lot of people right now that are going to be in this exact space. They've never tried it. They hear people, oh my God, what was different? What did she see? When you go back, like really go back as much as you can, what shifted?
I was present in a way that I'd never been present. I wasn't in my head. I wasn't angry. I started doing the other technique, the technique that I teach today,
Yeah.
and I started doing it every day. The one that
Okay.
you did, right?
Yep.
Okay. I went to a class. I hated the class. I didn't like the teacher. I didn't like the music. I didn't like the woo woo. Right. But the technique, I had an experience where I cried in a way I've never cried before. I
Okay.
let go of things. There
Yeah.
were things that were inside of me since I was a little kid that I felt that I released in that session.
Yeah.
I released them. I let them go. I've been carrying them my whole life.
And
And
unguided, right? It just showed up. It
yeah,
just,
yeah, it just came out. And so I started doing it every day in the mornings. I get up early and started doing this breathing thing. And my clients and my friends and people around me are like, okay, what's going on with you? Are you medicated? Because you're happy, you're present, you're a fucking different guy. You're a totally different guy. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing this weird breathing thing. And they're like, what breathing thing? And I'm like, it's because nobody knew about breath work 15 years ago.
right,
There wasn't Wim Hof. There
right,
wasn't,
right.
what's his
It wasn't
name?
the latest trendy thing to do.
There wasn't Huberman and
Yep.
Goop and all the
Yep. Yep.
breath work is the new yoga. There was none of that shit back then.
That's right.
This is all before that.
Right.
All before it. So when I was talking about breath work 15 years ago and trying to get people to come to my classes, they're like, what's
What?
breath work? I'm not paying you to breathe, bro. They were like
Turns out
laughing
I
in my
do that
face.
on my own without even thinking.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But they like clients and friends had seen such a huge, profound difference in me.
Wow.
They wanted to know, and then they wanted to try it. So I was like, all right, I'll do a session with you. So I like laid down and did a session with them, and they were having the experiences, right? And then I was like, Matthew, you got to try this, right? Like I did a session with him. So he had an experience like this other style of breath work. And then this woman asked me, hey, why don't you do a class at my studio? And I was like, I've never taught a class before. I don't know if I could do a class. And she's like, you'd be amazing. Just come teach a class. Right. So I was like, all right. So I told all my friends, and like, I think 12 of them showed up. And Matthew was one of them. And afterwards, they were all floored. And Matthew
Yeah.
was like, this is your gift. This is what you're supposed to do.
Wow.
Because I had made a decision like, okay, if I'm going to do this class, I'm going to do it in a way that's not woo woo, that's not new agey, that's me. Like, I can't be a woo woo guy. It's not who I am.
Right. And it's
Right.
not
So,
required, right? That's the thing that people need to understand.
but it was back then.
Well,
It, it was back then. And it was like,
it's what the expectation was, and it's who was drawn to it. It's the teachers that were drawn. It was the expectation that
the
you're gonna
trainings
have
that I took were like the most woo woo,
yeah,
weird shit you've
crystals
ever.
everywhere, 100%. That's
Yeah,
exactly
talking about
that's what it was.
aliens and
Yeah.
spirit animals and all that. That's why, after 5 years of teaching it, everyone kept asking me, why don't you do a training? Why don't you do a training? And so finally I had to create a training that wasn't that. So I've been doing the trainings. I've been training other people on how to lead breathwork for the last 9 years. And my training, it's got science in it. It's got, here's a script that you say to prepare people properly for the session. Because imagine getting tetany, which is when your hands cramp up, and someone not telling you that's going to happen, which is what they would do.
Right.
Like, you think you're having a stroke. How do you not tell people that this can happen to your hands?
Right.
How do you not prepare people properly? How do you not tell them that what's going to go on, that you're going to cry most likely?
Right. Right.
And so people weren't preparing people properly. They weren't giving them the science, they weren't giving them the preparation, and the music was terrible, and it just wasn't, and there was no pushing, right? So, like, they'd be like, "All right, breathe." And then it would be dead silent, And then, so that's not what I want. I need somebody to be like, "Come on, John Paul, you've done harder shit in your life than lay on the floor and breathe. It's
Which, by the
not
way, if
that
you're wondering,
hard."
that is exactly what he says in class.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's
Yeah,
not
because
joking.
your brain, there's a thing that can happen in this class called transient hypofrontality.
Yeah.
It's when your brain turns off, the prefrontal cortex turns off. And it's the area of your brain where the critic lives, where the ego lives, that tells you you're not enough in some way, right?
Right.
And and then we turn that off and we move into our heart. But this brain of ours doesn't want us to turn that off.
Right.
It thinks it needs to stay on to protect us.
Right.
And so it fights you for the first 10 minutes, the first 3 songs, the first 3 or 4 songs. And so I think you need somebody to be like, "You're fine. All right, you're dizzy, whatever, you're fine. Keep going. So what? Push through. I know your brain's fighting you. Just keep doing it, And so I needed somebody to push me through all that.
Right.
And the people who come to me do need somebody to do that too.
You know this is just my take. What do I know? But here's what I think, specific to your style and specific to exactly what you're saying. Especially, and you're talking about Hollywood A-listers, and let's just talk about type A personalities, people that are in the driver's seat of their life all the time. The thought of relinquishing control for somebody who is in charge all the time is impossible. It seems I'm not going to let go of control. However, if you come across to me as every bit as strong as me and decisive as me and in charge as me, I can let go. So I can let go if I feel like right here talking to me is somebody who's responsible and taking charge. Now I'll turn the keys of the car over. Now, okay, hang on. I'll go lay down in the back seat and play your game because I know the car's still being driven. But I think it's very hard and look, you and I can talk firsthand about this. I'm the exact same way. And also, not that this is a psychedelic discussion, but for people that don't have an experience, the majority of them, they can't let go. I'm just not going to let go. And your mind can always outthink whatever it is. If it wants to hang on and be in charge, it doesn't matter what ayahuasca strain you try, you're not going to let go. And so I think, I was very present in your class, but there was a part of me that also had awareness of, I see why you work. I see how this works. I see how your delivery and your thing, because it allowed me to let go. It allowed me to say, look, you've got this. I don't have to anymore.
Yeah,
I'm just going to let it go.
Can't do that. I'm not for everybody. Some people don't like that delivery. I've had people come and be like, "Stop talking. You're talking too much. This isn't how breathwork's done." And I'm like, "Listen, honey, this isn't a fucking collaboration. If you don't like the class, just leave. Just go." You know what I mean? We're not, just because you got a keyboard in front of you doesn't mean we're collaborating today. I'm teaching a class. You came to the class. You don't like it? Go. You don't walk up to the yoga teacher in the middle of the yoga class and be like, "You're moving too fast through the poses."
But there
You
are
don't do
people that then they won't go back to that class because of that. Too fast or too slow. But
fine.
here's
Don't
what's
come
great.
back
There's
to
a
my
million
class.
teachers. Go to a different one.
Yeah, I'm not for everybody. You can't be who you are, authentic to yourself, and give a shit what people think, and be for everybody around you.
That's right.
So some
That's
people
right.
love me and some people hate me, and I'm fine
That's
with that.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But don't get on the keyboard and start telling me how to teach my class. And then make a video about it on social media. This was a woman who had been teaching breathwork for a year, and I'm like 12 years deep in, and she's telling me I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, imagine me going to Tony Robbins and be like, "You're coaching wrong."
Right.
Tony.
This motivation thing. You got a thing to learn.
I think you're doing this all wrong. Wrong. Not that I'm Tony Robbins at breathwork, but you know what I'm saying. It's just a funny analogy.
I absolutely do. And it is funny. And for anybody that knows me, it absolutely knows why I love you. So that, enough said. because I am in the stress reduction. Here's to tell you how aligned we are. I'm in the field of stress reduction, and the majority of people will say, "But Michelle, all you do is create stress in people's lives." Yeah, okay, that's absolutely right. Because if I don't motivate you to say what you're doing is going to kill you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Hopefully the answer is not, "Oh, I've got chemotherapy waiting in the wings." It is my job to induce enough stress to say you've got to make a change.
Yeah.
So, once we get there, then I can talk about ways of let's reduce the impact of what stress is doing to you, but you and I are of the same exact cloth,
Well,
which is
that's
not
the
white
irony
linen.
behind this breath work too, is because you're breathing into your sympathetic nervous system, which
Right.
is actually fight or flight. And you go, why would you do that? Most breathwork techniques are breathing through your nose into your parasympathetic. That's the science behind, the breathwork here.
Right.
Breathing through your nose puts you in parasympathetic, rest and digest, relaxes you. Why would I breathe through my mouth into the sympathetic? Well, that's where the trauma is.
Right.
That's where the stress is. That's where
Right.
the anxiety is. That's where your generational trauma is. That's where all the shit is. So we're doing that on purpose in a safe environment to clear that out. And again, there's science behind this. You can dig into this. You can chat GPT it all you want. It's there. And then one other thing I want to touch on, because you mentioned psychedelics, a lot of people go to these psychedelic retreats now and they do the ayahuasca. And then at a lot of these psychedelic retreats, they have breath work too.
Right.
And people are expecting the psychedelics to do all this stuff. But what they're not expecting is the breath work to be as powerful as it. I've trained a ton of psychedelic,
Absolutely.
retreat leaders in breath work. And they come to me afterwards. They're like, holy shit, the breath work was amazing. I want to learn more about this. And they go, well, what's the difference? And I go, well, for me, the major difference is I can't do psychedelics and then go pick up my kids from school on a Tuesday afternoon, but I can do breath work and then go pick up my kids from school. I can do breath work in
Right.
the morning before my kids even get up and then show up as a totally different parent and a husband.
Right. Right.
And I can
Absolutely.
do it in 15, 20 minutes and change my whole day.
So let's talk about this. For somebody who is a breathwork teacher, what is what two questions. What does a practice look like of yours? Do you have it every morning, every afternoon, an as needed basis? What's your practice? Question one. Question two, something happens that's stressful. It's life, whatever it is. Do you have a 3 to 5 minute go-to? So what do those two look like for you as a breathwork professional?
Yeah, I mean, I think yes, there are breathing techniques you can do in 3 to 5 minutes, but we're talking about that makes me go like, well, what's the thing we're talking about? How big is the thing that just happened? Like you might need something more than that. If you just had something massive happen, 3 minutes ain't going to do it, honey. You need a little more time,
Right.
right?
Right.
You're laughing. You're trying not to
But
laugh
let's
because
say
you
but
know
let's
I'm
say
right.
let's say it's like a social media post, just like you said, and someone dogs you on social media, and you can just feel that gets you spun up. Your logic mind says, "I don't even know Sassy Pants 594. Why do I really
Yeah.
care?" But you can feel tension, right? And
I'm
so
in the
just
Mike
like, "Okay, I
Tyson
gotta."
school of social media where I think people have gotten too comfortable disrespecting other people
Yeah.
without getting punched in the face. I really do. I think like you would never say that to my face. If
Never.
you
You would
can't
never
say
say
that
it
to
to
my
no.
face, and like I
It would
think
never
people should get
happen.
punched in the face. I say it all the
Would
time.
never
Like
happen.
you haven't never been punched in the face.
Here's another thing. Here's another thing. Boy, you and I could go off on tangents all day long. But while we're on this one, when someone's critiquing you as an instructor, you as a book author, you as a public speaker, and then you go, "Well, let me just go see you as an author, a public speaker, as a oh, that's right, that's
Yeah.
right. You
Well,
you
yeah.
you
Most of
live
the
in your
time, the
parents'
shitty
basement at a
comments,
45-year-old. Like you aren't
shitty
doing any of
comment.
the things
Of course, you're never going to be criticized by someone doing more than you.
ever,
Never. I've
never.
never. It
That is
never
one of the
happened.
most important things to ever
It's
learn.
always somebody doing less than you. It's already somebody just Tony Robbins is not getting on social media. Oprah Winfrey is not getting on social media criticizing people. Oh, that's what you're doing? That's terrible. That's so dumb. It's always somebody doing less. It's always somebody who's jealous or whatever. But you know what? And nowadays, it's also
Yeah,
mostly people from anonymous profiles,
it
right? They
is.
don't have a picture on there. You don't have a
Nope.
real name. You don't know
Nope.
who it
No, it's
is.
Sassy Pants
And
564.
that
It's
to
not real.
me is like they are the biggest cowards. If you can't say it with who you really are, your real name, your real face, you're
Right.
a coward. And I'm not going to give a coward the time of day. Listen, I had my wife take over my social media a couple years ago because, listen, I'm not enlightened. I'm not an enlightened guru. I still wanna punch people in the face. And people will be like, "Wait, aren't you the breathwork guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you should have seen what I was like before breathwork. This is massive change. This is massive growth. I don't punch people in the face. That's huge. I used to punch people in the face. I don't people still need it. I don't
Ah.
do it. It's not my job anymore,
Right,
but they still
right.
need it, and I still would like to deliver it sometimes." I'm joking and I'm not joking at the same
I
time.
know it. I am with you. Okay, so then let's get to your daily practice. What does that look like?
And I say that also because I want people to know out there that I'm human,
Right,
and, like, you can relate to that, and you can come to my class and be like, "You know what?
right.
This guy is legit. He's human. I'm working on myself. I'm not perfect. Just ask my wife, right?" But
Right,
I've also helped hundreds of thousands of people change their lives.
right,
That's a fact.
right,
I promise you. And
right,
if you come to my class, you're gonna feel that too. You're gonna have that
right,
experience because the breath work is the thing. I'm not the thing. I'm really good at getting you to breathe the right way and do the technique and have an experience that's gonna change your life. But I'm not the thing. The breath work is.
right. Yeah, you're the messenger delivering the message, and the message
Yeah.
is whatever the message needs to be in that moment for you that day. I was just said that I was in your class, and timing is everything. So grateful for it, and there's just a lot of stuff going on, and at the end of your class, when all was said and done, and it was all the things. It was the hands clapping. I don't do breath work near as much as I should. That was an indicator alone. It was the hands cramping. It was the crying out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere. It was by the end of the class where my first thought was, what in the world was I even freaking out about? What was I stressed out
Yeah.
about? What was even weighing on me? Like, everything's fine. Like,
Yeah.
what in the world? Without effort, without trying to convince myself everything is fine.
Yeah.
I I was good. Like, I'm
And
like, wow.
it's not just a head thing of like, "Yeah, everything's fine, everything's gonna be okay." It's not just a head thing.
Oh no.
It's a
You feel it.
soul in my
You
heart.
feel it.
Like,
Feel
yeah,
it.
you feel it in your heart.
Feel it.
I'm fine.
I'm
I'm
lighter.
actually
I am in this moment, whatever needed to come and go wasn't mine to carry anyway.
yeah. I have a shirt that I had made which says, "I'm sorry for what I said before breath work."
Right.
Because I can't tell you, I've had an
Yeah.
argument with my
It's great.
wife, right? And I'm
Yeah.
pissed and I'm
And
right.
you're
I'm
right.
so right.
Yeah.
And then I lay down and I breathe,
And you're like,
and then afterwards I'm like, "Oh,
what
who
was I
cares about being
doing?
right?
What was I
What?
doing?
Who cares about being right? I wanna be happy.
Right.
I wanna be in love.
Right. What was this thing?
I wanna be in joy.
Right. Right.
I wanna be in gratitude. Who
Yeah.
gives a shit about being right?"
Right. Right. I want that for me and I want that for you.
Yeah.
And my need to be right is going to negate my need for you to be happy. Like now all of a
Yeah.
sudden, I have a need to be right more than I need for both of us to be happy. And why is that ever the answer? But
Yeah.
to your point, we just layer and layer and layer, and breath work says, let that go.
Yeah.
It's not
It
about trying to
strips
be
all
something
that
better. It's
down.
just get back to you.
It strips all that down,
Get
all your
back to you.
stories that you've been telling
Yeah.
yourself and other
Yep.
people, we
Yep.
get rid of the
Get rid of
stories
it. And our
and,
true
like,
nature is love. At the end of the day,
yeah,
that's our true nature. And when
yeah,
we're not coming truly, truly, truly from a place of love, that's your indicator to say, go do breath work.
yeah,
You're carrying some story, some nonsense on that's not real. It's not you. It's not needed. It's not helpful to you or anyone else. And it is the fastest way I know of to open that suitcase, throw the clothes out, and just say, let's start here from fresh. What
yeah.
what what really belongs in this suitcase? Because it ain't this nonsense.
Well, and that's what happens in this class, and it's different for everybody, and here's the wild thing, it's different every time you do it.
That's right.
So, like, you did the class, if you came back and if you did the replay, so I have the class live on Sunday morning,
Yep.
and then or Sunday afternoon, depending on where you are, your location, and then there's a replay of that class. It's recorded, and there's a 5-day replay, and if you did that same exact class 5 days in a row, you would have a different
Different every
experience
time.
every day with the same class, with the same music, me saying the same shit. It's a recording. So you would have a different experience because it's peeling back layers
Right.
of things that you need to get let go of, that you
Right.
need to strip away. And
Right.
it's getting you to your heart, it's getting you to your essence, and it's getting you to what really matters in your life.
Right. That's
Not
right.
in my life,
That's
in
right.
your life.
That's right. That's right. So, okay, I'm gonna ask it again. What's your daily practice? So, do you do this every day? Do you do
Not
this a few?
anymore.
Okay.
No, because I did it every day for a year at first, and it transformed me,
Okay.
and then I had a practice of a certain way. I have a lot of different things. There's a lot of things, like, I joke with people, I'm like, "My self-care routines are ridiculous," like, whether it's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, cold
Right.
plunge sauna, I have a meditation bench back there,
Yeah.
I have a sensory deprivation tank in my house, a float
Nice.
tank,
Nice.
which I love, that's my favorite little thing,
Yep.
and so and I have recovery meetings that I go to and friends, and I have breath work, right? And I have breath
Right.
work and a lot of different breath work techniques. So it just depends. I have a set routine in the morning that I like to do when I get up.
Yep.
I like to get on my knees and I like to lay in bed and start to get grateful
Yep.
immediately. Say, thank you for this. Thank you for that. Thank you for this. That's gratitude, right? Saying thank
Right.
you for what you have. And then I roll out of bed and I hit my knees and I have some prayers and some things that I say. And then I do some stretching and then I do some meditation, and I do some hangs and then I go down and I have my coffee and I read some things out of a little book and spend a little time with the dog, right? I think connecting to that dog is really important. And then depending on, if I'm up at 4 or 5 or whatever, I might start to connect to my wife and my son and then my daughter. And then I get to work.
Yeah.
So it's different. And then I might do breath work in the middle of the day. I might do jujitsu in the middle of the day. I might, I go in the cold plunge sauna a couple times a week with my friend or by myself or whatever, and then I have community. So there's a lot of different things that I like to do. And it just depends on what my heart, my body, my mind needs that day.
That day. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the, lack of rigidity. That's one
Yeah.
thing that I see with people is they find something, and now that has to be the thing, and then it's gotta be from 6 to 7 AM, and if that doesn't happen, now they lose their mind, and you're going, "Well, we've missed the whole point here.
Yeah.
We have missed the whole point of what we're actually trying to accomplish." I'm going to ask about your teacher training classes here as we start to wrap up because you not only offer online if somebody wants to take a class like I was so fortunate to do, but you also offer teacher training. But before I have you talk about that, I want to ask about teacher training. What is something that in when you look back of all the people that you have taught, whether it was in the class or, you kind of following a student in their journey, this sort of surprised you? Because I think we have expectations like, "Oh, this is how the teacher training is gonna go," and then we start doing it. You had somebody back in the day that said, "Hey, come teach this class." You're like, "Oh, I've never done that." And then you stepped it up to, "Now I'm gonna teach other teachers."
Yeah.
What in that next level, what has surprised you in that? Whether it's a, overarching thing or a single story, I'm just curious what that element brought to you.
Well, it's funny because there's a couple things. So everything I've done in my life that didn't work out or I thought didn't work out, it actually makes total sense for this teacher training.
Hmm,
Right? The screenwriting, I have my students, I have this syllabus, I have them read I have a short script, a one-page script that they learn how to prepare people properly for the breathwork session or a class or a couple session, right? And so the screenwriting goes into the creating the whole syllabus, and I have these letter writing exercises which will transform people's lives. And I lost somebody really close. I lost a sponsee, a guy that I sponsored for 11 years to suicide, and it destroyed
hmm,
me. It crushed my heart. And I did this thing called the transformational letter exercise where you write a letter to this person and then you write a letter back from them and then you do a breathwork session afterwards. And so the letters bring all the stuff up that we need to heal inside of us
yeah,
and then the breathwork does the work to heal it. So I do that in my trainings. I have that in a course online called the 5-day emotional detox course. But like all the things, the trainer, I was a trainer. That goes into the breath work. It goes into the teacher trainings. I was an actor. I was this, as that. It all goes into the training. It makes sense. And I'll just tell you a story. There was a woman who showed up. I've been doing them for 9 years, and there was a woman who showed up extra early, and I was like, "You're really early." And she's like, "I know, I need to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh God, I'm setting up." You know what I mean? Like there's always someone way too early. And she's like, "I don't think I can do this." And I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, "I don't know. I've never taught anything before, and I don't know." And she was an older woman, a Latin woman, and I don't know if I want to teach it in Spanish and English. I don't think I can do this. And she was so just not confident. And I go, "Will you just trust?" that you're supposed to be here right now? Can you just embrace this experience and do the work full out? I promise you, you'll have the confidence by the end of this training to do this. She's like, I've never taught anything before. I've never like worked with people. I go, it doesn't matter, Claudia. Just do it. Just listen. And by the end, she was crushing it. Right.
Mm.
And now I see her on Facebook, on Instagram, and she's leading retreats and she's leading classes and she's doing breathwork sound baths with people. And there's people filled in these events and she's killing it out there and she's changing lives. And I'm like, this is the woman who came to me who's like, I don't think I can
Can do
do
it.
this. And she's one of the most successful students I have. But the other thing is, and somebody did this to me, I was working with all these massive celebrities and huge celebrities. And I was like bummed out in a way, like, where's mine? And my friend's like, I think you're measuring your success the wrong way. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you're measuring your success by like money and fame. What if you measured your success by how many people you've helped?
The difference
You're
you
way more
make.
successful than anyone else I know. And I went, holy shit. So I measure my success by how many people I've helped. And I tell my students, like, it doesn't matter if you've got 2 people in your class or 200 people in your class. I did a class, 1 person showed up. I was paying to teach that class. I was renting the room. You know what I mean? I lost money on the class. I paid to do breath work essentially, right?
Right.
But I felt amazing afterwards. It changed that person's life. I go, what profession, where do you get to change lives?
Right.
Where do you get to impact people's lives that profoundly?
Right.
So focus on how many people's lives you can change. Forget about the money. That's a byproduct that will come and it's fine. But like focus on how many lives can I change?
Right.
Whether it's 2 or 200 doesn't matter. You're changing lives.
Right. That's exactly it. And the level of contribution, and I know this already about you, that you taught the same class, that there was 1 person there, it was the same level of intensity, the same level of care, the same level of everything, even if there were 30 people in the class.
I
I
don't know
know
any
that.
other way to do
I
it.
know, right. And so that's what shows through in your character and your integrity and who you are, is you show up. And that is what matters. That's why, if you're listening, check show notes. If you're at the Venice gym right now or wherever you are, out for a run or a hike or whatever you're doing, and it's impossible to write this down, check show notes. Where does somebody go to find out how to take one of your classes online? Let's start there.
So I have a couple websites, but my main website is breathewithjp.com. BREATHEWITHJP, not breath with JP, breathewithjp.com. And you can find my online classes there. That's probably the best place to start.
Yeah.
There might be someone who hears this like, I want to do a training. Well, guess what? You need to do a class. Do a class.
Right.
And then you can sign up for the training first because you need to experience it first. I have had people come to the trainings having never done breathwork before. And I'm like, really?
Right.
So now I try to make it a prerequisite to do the training. Like literally I'll be like, have you done a class yet? And I'm like, no. I'm like, you need to do a class before you come to this training.
Right. Would kind of stand to reason. It's almost like I want to be a dentist. Have you ever had your teeth cleaned? No. Okay. It really just doesn't make then that really doesn't make sense.
No.
Okay, so now someone is listening, whether they're a practitioner of some sort and they want to incorporate this, or they just want to learn more deeply, or they just want to spend more time with you, whatever their incentive is.
Yeah.
How does somebody find out about your teacher training? Which, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're all sold out but one. If I'm not wrong. I mean,
I
they're
only
like, you're crazy. These things are sold out.
I only do 2 a year in person. I have them online. So if you wanted to, like, if you hear this and you want to just do it online, I put them online. I created them online. They're amazing online. And you could start it right now, right? So you could go sign up for my teacher training online. It's on sale right now because everybody likes a sale,
Right.
even me, right? So it's on sale right now online. But the in-person, I only do it twice a year because it's a lot of my energy.
Right.
It's 4 days in person. It's intense,
It's in
We're like
Calabasas, right?
it's in Calabasas,
Yep.
California. I do it in September and January. I have some spaces in September available right now. I think I even have 1 or 2 discounted spots left in Calabasas. So if you want to come in person, and I keep it small. I keep it small for a reason because I just think that that's the size group I want to work with. So it's under 20 people. It's less than 20 people.
Right.
So that's why they always sell out because I'm keeping them small. I've done bigger ones and I'm like, nope, it's got to be this size.
Perfect.
So It's a small training, so if you wanna do the in-person training, go put a deposit down.
That's the one. Okay,
Yeah. Or
perfect.
do it online. It's up to you.
Perfect. Okay. If someone's listening right now, this is our last pitch here, that is still on the fence, that doesn't know, I don't know, whatever there is that's holding them back. This is John Paul's last time to speak to you to say, I'm going to start the sentence and you got to finish it. I'm really struggling, whether, I want to admit to some addiction that I have, some overwhelm in my life. Everything I've tried has not worked. And quite frankly, John Paul, I just don't know that I want to add one more thing to my list of something else that I've failed at. And while maybe you believe in this, I don't know that I can set myself up to just let myself down again of saying, well, that also didn't work. So I don't know what to do.
I'm laughing because that's such a great story you're telling me. Like, you've written a nice little script there.
I've worked with clients for 25 years. I've
Yeah,
heard them all.
it's such a great little story that you've created about, like,
Yeah.
"I don't wanna set myself up for another failure." And, like, well, okay, so then what are you gonna do? Are you gonna give up? Because here's the thing, if you want something different, if you want a different life, if you want a different experience, you've gotta do something different, and the life that you want, the life that you're looking for is in the work that you've been avoiding. And if I sat here, have you done breath work? No, you haven't done breath work. So you haven't done all the things. So stop telling me you've done all the things because you haven't, right? You haven't done breath work, then you haven't done all the things. And maybe you did breath work with someone else. And I hear this all the time. I have to say this, and this sounds a little bit like my ego. It's not, because I've heard it 4,000 times, which is I did breath work before and it didn't do anything to me. And then I came to your class and I had a completely different experience.
Experience. That's right. And let me just throw this in on top of that. If you're listening right now, there are no mistakes, right? There are no mistakes. You're here for a reason. If you still are listening, you've stuck
Yeah.
with us for this long, there are no mistakes. And even if you did try breath work from it doesn't matter who in the past, that was where you were back that day. Now
Yeah.
you're here.
I
Now
have a story.
we're at a
I have a
different place.
I have a story. I was teaching breath work. It blew up when it blew up, and it was I was on Good Morning America and all these things and stuff with the breath work. And one of my friends reached out from when I was a method actor in my early 20s, right? And he goes, I can't believe you're teaching breath work. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, we did it in method acting school and you hated it. I go, we did? I forgot. And I was like, oh yeah, I had done it in my early 20s and I had forgotten about it and I hated it. I was not ready.
No, not
I
the right
was
not the
not,
right
I
place, not the right
wasn't,
place, not the right time. No, it doesn't mean that it
I
wasn't
wasn't
right.
ready.
It wasn't right for you then.
Yeah. And maybe it wasn't the right teacher, it wasn't the
That's right.
right time, and
Right.
relationships are like that too. When I
Yeah.
met my wife, we hit it off and she said, I don't think this is working. I'm going to go back to Vancouver. And I was like, no, no, I think it's not. She didn't think it was working. She was like, she wanted to leave. And I said, no, no, I think you should stay. And she's like, no, I'm good. And the timing was just not right. But we kept in touch and then the timing was right
The timing
later.
was right later. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. There are no mistakes and everything when it should, as it should. And so again, if you're still listening and you're here with us, maybe this is that time. Go check out the show notes. Breathe, not breath. Breathe with JP. Go check it out. It's an hour of your life. So what are you going to lose? An hour of your life? Well, you know what?
Yeah.
If your life is that bad, like I just described, you could probably use to get rid of that hour out of your life anyway. So do yourself a favor. Check this thing out. And truly, I want to say, because I didn't get a chance to say it in the class because I was, kind of still in La La Land there at the end of our time together. On top of that, there were many other people in class, so I certainly wasn't going to be sitting there all sharing, but I'm going to now. Thank you. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
your time in that class, for the energy you show up with. It shows how much you pour into that hour. You don't just
Yeah.
kind of show up. You really show up. And let me just I'm sure you've heard a million things from a million people. I'm just going to add to that. Another takeaway that maybe is breathwork related, maybe not, I don't know, but I'm just going to tell you, because of your style and because of the way you show up, at the end of it, it is impossible to not have an internal reflection of how much am I showing up?
Mm,
Am I showing up for myself with that much passion, with that much vigor, with that much care? How am I not showing up for myself the way you just showed up for me?
mm.
And that that I promise you on some level stays with everybody. It certainly stayed with me. It's not just about being there, it's about really showing up, really care, really be there. And that is you. And I know that that was you. That's why I said I know that was you with that one person in the room. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's 1 or 900. That's you.
I thank you for saying that. It means a lot because I really pour my heart into that class, and it's like, even though I've done it so many times,
It
for me,
shows.
it's still a beautiful experience. I get as much out of teaching it. This is what my students can't believe who do my teacher trainings. They email me and like, you told me this was going to be fulfilling. You told me this was going to give me purpose, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
It gives you such purpose. It gives you such fulfillment when you're literally watching someone have an experience in front of your eyes and they come out different in an hour from you guiding them. And
Right.
so they have that purpose, they get that fulfillment, and that's what we need in our life. And I want to be moved and I want to move other people.
Yeah.
And so that's the class I want to teach. I don't want to get up there and just do like a trainer, keep going, 5 more reps. I want to fucking move people. I want to feel something and I
Yes.
want them to feel something. And like my friend Philzy from Boston says to me all the time, JP, what comes from the hat goes to the hat. Right. And so when you're speaking from your heart, it goes into my heart, buddy. And so I want to open people's hearts. I want to crack people open. So I have to allow myself to be vulnerable and open too.
It comes across. Truly,
Thank
it
you.
comes across. Thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for who you are and what you do in this world. We are all better off for it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So thank you. And everybody, check that out. Oh, my goodness. I almost forgot. I end every show. I mean, I'm nearly at 200 episodes. And if I would have botched this now, that would have really proven how much I'm derailed by this whole thing. Jon Paul, I close every show with the same question with everyone. This is no different, although for a second it almost was. Jon Paul, what is one thing that you absolutely believe to be true?
I that sometimes this is really hard to say. It's really hard when your head tells you something that isn't true. That our brain can give us bad information. That somebody that you're not loved, that you're not worthy, that you're not enough. You do matter. You do make a difference. You are loved, even if it doesn't feel that way right now. So sometimes it's really hard because your brain's telling you something different and your brain's giving you bad information. So don't always believe the lies that your head is telling you. And, go tell someone that cares about you what's going on in your head and find a class, find a therapist, find a coach, find something because you are worth it. You truly are worth it. Don't believe the lie that you're not.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And everybody, if you want more of that, and we all do, take his class. So you are going to be poured into. I promise you that every minute of every hour that Jon Paul is with you. So again, thank you for who you are and what you do. And everybody who has stayed with us, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you take action. You and your life are worth it. So take action today. Don't let this episode pass you by as though you weren't here for a reason, because you are. So everybody, thank you again so much for tuning in to this episode of the Game Changer Podcast.